Hey there everybody, we're now approaching 2006, only 12 days to go, or 12 years or whatever. So 2006, there's only one thing that really caught my eye this time, partly because I didn't spend too much time researching this year, but the Cassini probe discovered geysers of liquid spurting from the surface of Enceladus, which is one of the moons of Saturn. Enceladus is an interesting moon because its entire surface, entire crust of the planet is just one big ice crust, and because of gravity forces, tidal forces with the other moons of Saturn and Saturn itself, you get cracks happening in the ice. Turns out that there is an ocean of liquid beneath the ice, possibly water, and when the ice cracks, you get a gap, and the liquid is forced out in a bit like a geyser, which is why they call it a geyser. So you get this fine spray of liquid coming out, which due to the smaller gravity of the planet, of the moon, it goes up high into the atmosphere, or the lack of atmosphere, and it basically freezes, crystallizes into crystals of ice, which fall back down onto the planet. I think that's what happens, something very similar to that anyway. So it's another discovery that the Cassini probe made, and went on to make a few more as it went around Saturn. So amongst those that died that year in 2006 were Stanislaw Lem, the sci-fi novelist, Robert Earl Jones, who is the father of Darth Vader, father of James Earl Jones in reality, Phil Brown. Who's Phil Brown, he cried. Phil Brown played the role of Uncle Owen in Star Wars. Yeah, he didn't last long in the role, but that's him. Shirley Winters, the actress who co-starred in one of my favourite films, A Patch of Blue. Go look it up, good movie. James Van Allen, the man who discovered the Van Allen belts. Yeah, named them after himself. Probably somebody else's idea, but you get the idea. Jack Palance, the actor. Why wasn't I called Jack Palance here? An opportunity missed, Mum and Dad. Peter Boyle. Peter Boyle, who I always saw as America's equivalent of Bernard Breslau. Do you know who Bernard Breslau is? James Brown. Gerald Ford, ex-president Gerald Ford. Saddam Hussein, who was executed that year. Andreas Katsoulas, the actor who I first saw in Babylon 5, and then a few things after that, but always in Babylon 5. Yeah, I was happy enough to meet him once at a SAFA convention in Blackpool. Yeah, there you go. Nice fella, and he was a really nice fella as well. Yeah. Dennis Weaver, the actor. Mako. What? He was a Japanese actor who I had seen here and there, but he really came to prominence for me in the series Samurai Jack. He voiced the bad guy, Aku. Al Lewis, the grandpa in The Monsters. Jack Wilde, the child star who starred as Oliver in the musical. John Junkin, who's famous in the UK as an actor and an all-round person. He was on TV all the time in some movies, you know. And also passed away that year was Moose. Who's Moose? He's the star of Frasier. He played the part of the Jack Russell dog in that. And so, what was I up to in... There goes the car. And so what was I up to in 06? I had by this time moved into, I moved out of the council flat, and I think I'd moved into an apartment down in Middle Bradford town centre, which was more expensive than a council flat, a lot more expensive. I thought I could afford it, but not really. And so the apartment I moved into was a very nice place actually. It was warm. How warm, I hear you cry. Well, I could take the butter out of the fridge, and within 20, even in winter, and within 20 minutes it was spreadable. Which the place I'm living now is not very warm in winter, and I never put the butter in the fridge because even in summer it's better to leave it out, otherwise it'd never be soft enough to spread. This was a time when the bank seemed to be very keen to give people money. They just seemed to be very keen to throw money at me. Have an overdraft, have a loan, whatever, have credit cards. And being me, I'm not very fiscally responsible. I pretty much took it all. Of course, that leads me to where I am now, deep in debt and worried about money. Well, I'm not worried about money, but So my convention going dropped off. Because at the time I was doing 2 or 3 a year. At one point I did 5 in 1 year, which is like, that's a lot of money. But yeah, my convention going dropped down to 2 or 1 a year if I could afford it. But the worst thing about the apartment was the landlord. He was not keen to get the place actually fixed up. It was a new apartment, so there was not much to do, but yeah, he was dodgy. He was dodgy as heck. You'd turn up in stupidly expensive cars to get my money, to get my rent. In fact, there was one time when I was walking. One morning, I was crossing the road to go to the station to get to work, and he comes down the road and he sees me and he stops and he says, "Hey Mark, have you got some rent for me?" I said, "It's not Sunday, mate." Anyway, it's not the end of the month. Come back at the end of the month and I'll give you the rent then. But that's the kind of guy he was. So glad to be away from him. Yeah. But let's have a quick look at some conventions I did go to that year. And I'll be inside for the rest of this video. So, 2006, here's a few snaps I took at convention. Actually, the big story of 2006 for me wasn't the conventions and that, or the fact that it was the first time I was using a digital SLR to take these photographs, which I've got to say they're certainly a lot higher quality than I was getting from film. And aesthetically they're just as pleasing, but the image quality is just right. Yeah, exactly what I wanted. But the big story of 2006, or rather the beginning of 2006, started at the end of 2005. Family and I went to Uganda, back to Uganda for the first time since we'd been here. So that's we came in 1979, and so what's that? 30 years? 79, 89, 99, 35 years, 37 years. So 37 years, and of course, me being me, and well, my dad as well. We had a little problem with our passports. There should have been a page in there that says indefinite leave to remain in the UK and that. But when our passports were renewed, the old passport that had this visa in was lost, or probably stolen, whatever. And that meant that we had to get these things renewed. And of course, time came for us to go. And the Home Office was being slow, and eventually they said, you can sort it out in Uganda. So and so, right? We went to Uganda, flying Egypt Air, changing in Cairo. It was all good. Arriving in Uganda, and everything was so exciting. 37 years. How much have things changed? It was all exciting, that meeting relatives I hadn't seen in that long a time. I couldn't speak the language anymore because I hadn't spoken it in 37 years. That's the thing. If you don't do something, you forget how to do it after a while. Languages specific, or complicated things like languages and so on. So we go to the wedding, everything's fine, and we go to the British consulate in Kampala, and to get these things renewed, and we're rejected. And so we have to make an appeal and all that, and this takes time. So instead of being in Uganda for the 3 weeks we'd planned, my dad and I were there for an extra 2 weeks waiting for this thing to get sorted. So by this time it's January, and it annoyed me. It got me a bit depressed. I'll tell you that. I'm not saying I was suffering from depression, like clinical depression. I was just annoyed, upset, down, So, but eventually we got them renewed, and on the Thursday. So it was 2 weeks in to January, and the second Thursday of the month, or maybe the third. Anyway, it doesn't matter what day it was. But it's a Thursday. We get it passed, and and it's all sorted. And so my dad has decided that he wants to go and visit his niece, my cousin, in Ginger, and she's in hospital. And so we go visit. This is a Saturday, so we're going to visit them. Go visit her rather, and I've got my camera and everything, my new DSLR. I'm going to take pictures of everything, and we're in the hospital, and it was pretty dark. Well, not dark in light, but upsetting, because she was ill. She was so ill that she sat up out of bed to speak to us, and that. Then after about 5 minutes, she grew so weak that she had to lie down again because she was so ill, and it was sad to see. But we talked, reminisced, about. I think we made plans that when she gets better, we'll go dancing at a disco and whatever. Bearing in mind that she's older than me, so she was in her late 30s by this time. And so we did that, and we visited, and then and after the hospital, Dad and I went and visited a relative, I think it was, who had a bar or something like that. So we had a drink and a meal, and then we went home. Bear in mind this is Saturday evening. We're all packed up, and our flight is Sunday night, or Sunday morning rather, 4 a.m. something stupid like that. So we leave for the airport at midnight, 1 a.m. and go through passport control, and we'll pass. Everything's fine, and then we fly back. I eventually got home from a flat at midnight on Monday night. So basically, I've been in transit for an entire day. It was interesting. The flight from Entebbe to Cairo was on an Airbus A320, a smaller plane, and the plane was nearly empty. There's like a few dozen people. We're all stretched out and spread out all over the plane, just chilling, relaxing. And then the plane from Cairo to the UK to Heathrow was packed. It was a Boeing 777, so big, pretty much a jumbo jet. No, not a jumbo. Oh, it's a big plane. A lot of people on that plane, and it was packed. If they allowed standing room on aircraft, there'd be people standing on that plane. It was so full. Because mainly people coming back from Mecca, apparently, or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah. So basically midnight on Saturday, and I got into my flat midnight on Monday morning, and I'm back at work on Tuesday. So it's Tuesday. I'm back at work. Everything's fine now, and my dad comes into the shop to visit me. And he basically came to tell me that my cousin, who had visited in hospital the previous couple of days ago, had passed away in the interim. So, still regret not taking the picture, even though she was really ill. It would have been at least a photograph. But it's one of those things which is like little coincidences that happen in life that you know, something bad happened, so you, which was us not being allowed to leave to come back to England rather. And so we spent the extra day, and I met a cousin who I hadn't seen in like 37 years. And if I hadn't have been there the extra couple of weeks, I'd never have seen her, and she'd have passed away without seeing me and my dad. Not that that helped her at all, but you know, yeah, you know, yeah. So that was the thing, and yeah. Curious thing is that because this little story of my dad and I being stuck in Uganda for the extra couple of weeks made the local newspaper here in Ilkley. In fact, there was a picture of me on the paper, and the headline saying said something like Ilkley resident not allowed to come back to Britain. The local MP here, my dad's local MP was involved in trying to get us past, getting this thing sorted rather, and the picture of me incidentally was taken by my niece, Hope, who at the time was 5 years old. So you know, she took a picture that's good enough for me to be on the newspaper. So there you go. So that was that. So yeah. So for weeks, indeed years afterwards, you know, people come to the shop and say, "Oh, I saw it in the newspaper the other day." Yeah, that was me. Yeah, so. Anyway, so that was the story of 2006/2005. And I hope you like the photographs I took in various conventions in 2006. I should do something special about the Uganda trip, because it was pretty amazing. But anyway, story for another day maybe. Take care everybody, and what year, how old was I? I was 39. Wow, getting old. Was I 39? I can't do the math anymore, but yeah. See you tomorrow people. Take care.